Some people drain you without ever raising their voice. They're not shouting, they're not aggressive. There's no scene, no confrontation. But somehow, after every interaction, you feel smaller, heavier. Like something was taken from you that you didn't agree to give away. And the strange part isn't the conversation itself, it's what happens after. The way their words loop in your mind for hours, the way you replay what they said, edit what you said back, rehearse better responses for next time. The way you lie awake wondering if you overreacted, if you're too sensitive, if you're the problem. You tell yourself it doesn't matter, that you're being ridiculous, that you should be able to brush it off like everyone else seems to. But the feeling doesn't leave. It sits with you. It follows you into other rooms, other conversations, other days. Certain people take up residence in your head without ever asking for permission. Their comments echo longer than anyone else's. You find yourself explaining things to them that they never questioned, defending choices they never challenged, justifying your existence to someone who's already decided what they think of you. And the exhausting part is this: you keep trying, you keep engaging, you keep hoping that the next conversation will be different, that they'll finally see you clearly, that you'll finally say the right thing and everything will shift, but it never does. Because the game was rigged from the start. There was someone at work who always had something to say. Not loud, not dramatic. Nothing you could report to anyone or point to as clearly wrong. Just small comments, little observations. The kind that sound almost helpful on the surface, but land like tiny cuts underneath. Oh, you're doing it that way? Interesting. I thought you'd be further along by now. Must be nice to have time for lunch. And every time they'd smile. Like it was nothing. Like you were the strange one for feeling anything at all. Like the weight in your chest was something you invented. At first, they brushed it off. Everyone has bad days. Everyone says things that come out wrong. They gave this person the benefit of the doubt, over and over. They assumed good intentions. They told themselves they were being too sensitive, but the comments kept coming. And slowly, without realizing it, they started preparing. Rehearsing responses in the car on the way to work, running through potential conversations in the shower, imagining scenarios that might happen, and crafting the perfect reply for each one. Building arguments for situations that hadn't even occurred yet. They became careful, measured, always thinking 3 steps ahead whenever this person was around, watching their words, monitoring their tone, trying to say the right thing, trying to appear competent, unbothered, impressive, trying to prove they weren't whatever this person seemed to think they were. And it worked. Sometimes, they'd get through a conversation without feeling bad. They'd have a decent comeback. They'd hold their ground and walk away feeling like maybe, finally, they'd earned some respect. But it never lasted. The next day, there'd be another comment, another look, another small moment where something that should have been neutral felt like an attack. Another interaction where they'd walk away feeling like they'd been in a fight they didn't agree to. And the strangest part, this person never seemed affected, never seemed to think about it afterward, never seemed to carry any of the weight that was crushing them. The exhaustion wasn't even from the person anymore. It was from the constant vigilance, the mental rehearsals, the energy spent trying to manage someone who would never be managed, the life they were living in their head, preparing for battles that sometimes happened and sometimes didn't. They realized something that made them feel ashamed. They were living 2 lives now, the one they wanted to live, and the one built entirely around avoiding how this person made them feel. And they didn't know which one was real anymore. Here's what's actually happening in moments like that. You're not dealing with a communication problem. You're not dealing with someone who's misunderstood you or hasn't seen your value yet. You're dealing with someone who's discovered that you respond. And response, even negative response, is a form of attention. And attention to some people is the entire point. Not because they're evil, not because they're plotting your downfall, but because they've learned that they can create a reaction, and a reaction means they matter. Even if the reaction is frustration, even if it's avoidance, even if it's just you thinking about them later when they're not even there. The trap isn't the comment itself. The trap is the fact that you're still trying to win. You're still operating under the assumption that if you just say the right thing, show the right proof, demonstrate the right level of competence, they'll stop. They'll see you clearly. They'll respect you. But that was never what was being offered. What's being offered is an endless game where the rules change every single time you think you've figured them out. Where the goalposts move the moment you get close. And the more you play, the more you prove that the game works. This doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wired for connection. You're wired to resolve things, to be understood, to have your reality acknowledged. That's not a flaw. That's fundamentally human. But not every situation is asking for resolution. Some situations are asking for something else entirely. They're asking for fuel, for proof that they still have the ability to affect you. And every time you provide it, you're teaching them that the system works. What if the problem isn't that you haven't found the right response yet? What if the problem is that you're still responding at all? Think about the last time you tried to explain yourself to someone who wasn't actually listening. Their mind already made up before you opened your mouth. Their narrative about you already set in stone. Did it change anything? Did explaining yourself make them understand you better? Did defending your choices make them respect your decisions? Did proving your point make them reconsider their position? Or did it just give them more ammunition, more evidence in their mind that you care way too much about what they think? Here's the uncomfortable part. Every time you respond to someone like this, you're training them. You're teaching them that this strategy works, that they can say something and get your energy in return, your time, your attention, your mental space. And maybe that's all they ever wanted in the first place. Not to be right, not to change you. Just to know that they can pull you into their orbit whenever they choose, that you're still reachable, that you're still playing. Do you ever notice how calm they seem after these interactions? How unaffected? How they move on while you're still replaying what happened hours later? While you're still crafting better responses in your mind? That's not confidence. That's not strength. That's the peace of someone who knows they're living rent-free in your thoughts, that they got what they came for, and as long as you keep responding, the game will never end. This pattern exists because somewhere along the way you learned that engagement equals respect, that if someone speaks to you, you owe them a response, that silence means weakness, that walking away means they win, that not defending yourself means their version of reality becomes true. You learned that good people communicate, that mature people talk things through, that strong people stand up for themselves. And all of that is true, in the right context, with the right people. But it's not true everywhere. It's not true with everyone. Machiavelli understood something that most people still don't. Power isn't loud. It's not about having the last word. It's not about proving you're unbothered. Real power is actually being unbothered. It's the ability to hear something and not need to correct it, to be misunderstood and not need to explain, to be judged incorrectly and not need to defend, to let someone think whatever they want about you and continue living your life as if their opinion was never a factor. Not because you're suppressing your feelings, not because you're pretending it doesn't hurt, but because you've realized that some battles aren't designed to be won. They're designed to drain you. The person who can remain silent while someone else is trying to provoke them, that person has something the provocateur doesn't have. Freedom. Freedom from the need to be seen a certain way by people who've already decided how they want to see you. Freedom from the need to be understood by people who've committed to misunderstanding you. Freedom from the exhausting work of managing someone else's perception. And that freedom is terrifying to people who rely on your reaction to feel powerful, who need your engagement to feel relevant, because when you stop responding, they lose their power. Not because you defeated them, but because you stopped playing the game they needed you to play. This isn't about being cold. It's about recognizing when communication has stopped being communication and started being performance, when dialogue has become a one-sided transaction you never agreed to. Here's what nobody tells you about toxic people. They don't need your anger to win. They don't need your arguments. They don't even need to be right. They just need you to stay engaged. Because as long as you're explaining yourself, you're giving them relevance. As long as you're defending your choices, you're implying that their opinion matters, that their judgment carries weight, that they have some kind of authority over how you see yourself. As long as you're trying to prove something to them, you're admitting there's something to prove. And that admission is the only victory they were ever looking for. Think about the last time someone truly didn't care what you thought. Not in a cruel way. Just genuinely didn't factor your opinion into their life. They didn't argue. They didn't defend themselves. They didn't try to change your mind. They just lived their life and let you think whatever you wanted. Did it make you feel powerful? Did it make you feel like you mattered in their world? Or did it make you feel like nothing you said had any weight at all? Like your words disappeared into nothing? That's the truth sitting quietly at the center of all of this. The truth most people spend years avoiding because it challenges everything they've been taught about engagement and respect. Silence isn't weakness. Silence isn't passive. Silence isn't surrender. Silence is the removal of supply. And when you remove supply, when you stop feeding the dynamic, when you stop providing the reactions and validation that someone has come to expect from you, people move on. Not because you hurt them. Not because you won some invisible battle. Not because they suddenly realized you were right all along. They move on because there's nothing left for them to feed on. Because the game stopped working. Because you're no longer a reliable source of the energy they came looking for. The moment they realize you're no longer playing, something changes. Not always dramatically. Not always immediately. They might not acknowledge it. They might not even consciously understand what shifted. But you'll notice. You'll feel it. The space opening up. The lightness returning. The resolution here isn't about becoming cold. It's not about cutting people off or refusing to care. It's about reclaiming the energy you've been spending on people who were never going to give you what you were hoping for. Machiavelli wasn't encouraging cruelty. He was pointing out something simpler. That sometimes the most strategic thing you can do is nothing. That sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. Not because you're above it. Not because you're pretending not to care. But because you've recognized that some people don't want resolution. They want reaction. And when you stop giving them what they want, something fundamental changes. Not always visibly. They might not notice right away. They might even escalate for a while, testing to see if the old patterns still work. But you'll notice, because suddenly there's space in your mind that used to be filled with rehearsed arguments. There's energy in your body that used to be spent bracing for the next comment. There's peace where there used to be constant preparation. And that space, that energy, that peace, those aren't small things. Those are the resources you need to actually live your life, to be present with the people who matter, to do the work that matters. This doesn't mean you'll never be hurt again. It doesn't mean you'll stop caring what people think. It means you'll stop giving your care to people who've shown you they're not interested in caring back. And that distinction matters, because care is finite. Energy is finite. Attention is finite. And some people are only in your life to take those things without giving anything real in return, to drain you slowly, to keep you engaged in battles that benefit no one. The moment you realize you don't owe them access, that you don't owe them explanations, that you don't owe them your energy just because they've learned how to provoke you, something shifts. Not in them, in you. And that shift is the beginning of something that looks a lot like freedom. Silence isn't weakness. It never was. It's clarity. It's the refusal to let someone else's need for conflict become your responsibility to resolve. It's the quiet recognition that not every voice deserves your answer. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to prove yourself to every person who questions you. You don't have to make them understand, make them agree, make them see you the way you want to be seen. You just have to stop letting them occupy the space in your life that was always meant to be yours. The space in your mind, the energy in your body, the peace you were meant to feel. That's not coldness. That's not bitterness. That's not giving up on people or closing yourself off from the world. That's power, real power. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that doesn't need to be proven. The kind that simply exists in the quiet space where you used to fight battles that were never yours to begin with.